Tonight's text is 1 Corinthians 12, verse 31. I show you a more excellent way. Paul here writing to the Corinthians. Makes an appeal to them. An appeal that there is a better way. Paul had been corresponding with the group there in Corinth. He was aware of their challenges, their flaws, and their dysfunction. They were largely exercising religious rites. And up to that point, at least collectively, they had failed to experience the power of the gospel. This is evident in their strife, and their bickering, and their failure to unify. And most egregiously in their sinful conduct, their sinful behavior. Paul tells them that there is a better way than the way that they are walking. In fact, he prefaces that by saying, covet earnestly the best gifts. Cherish or desire the very best, the best way. This way that I'm going to show you, this more excellent way, this more complete way, this more perfect way. We don't get the 13th chapter of Corinthians without the previous 12 chapters. It doesn't stand independently on its own, and it's predicated on, among other texts, chapter 2, verses 1 and 2. I, brethren, when I came to you, I came not with excellency of speech or of wisdom, declaring unto you the testimony of God. I determined not to know anything among you save Jesus Christ and Him crucified. So Paul here, he's saying, I don't come to you as a Greek, a man of reason, a man of oration, a man of debate. He says, I don't come to you as a Roman, a man of knowledge, of an engineering mind, of ambition and of knowledge. He says, I don't come to you as a Jew, an expert in the law, a scribe. Each of those people and each of those cultures come in a different way. He's coming in the way of Jesus, in the way of love. He says, I am determined, I am focused to know nothing about you save Jesus Christ. I want to know you not because of what you've accomplished in your professional life, what you've accomplished personally, who you're related to, or what you've done. I want to know you for what Jesus has done in your life. I want to know you as the Spirit of God is evidenced in the unity of the church. And that is all. That is the only thing I want to know about you. It's really easy to become jaded or biased in our opinions of people. Oh, but Paul says, I just want to see Jesus in you. This is an appeal to the heart, not an appeal to the mind, not an appeal to reason or to knowledge, but it's an appeal to the heart. He continues, my speech and my preaching was not with enticing words of man's wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, in the wisdom of the Greeks or the Romans or the Jews, but in the power of love, in the power of God. Paul was exercising some humility here because indeed he was also coming at them maybe implicitly in his brilliance as a Greek and a Roman and a Jew collectively. But nevertheless, he's emphasizing a point here, that God offers a way that no other society or no other culture can offer. And that is the way of love. Don't you love a better way? Don't you love learning new things? Safer, more efficient ways to produce things. More dynamic ways to teach, to lead, or to speak. YouTube is full of videos on how to do things. How to do things better, or how to do things yourself rather than hiring it out. A new way, a better way. A more excellent way or a better way is a more thorough way. A more refined way. A more complete way. A more perfected way. And I think in a sense, it demonstrates the art of sanctification, the way of sanctification, the way of holiness. It is an appeal to the heart, the way of Jesus, the way of unconditional love in Christ. God's message to us here in this portion of Corinthians is that his love is personified in the person, it's personified in Jesus. As we look through these verses here of chapter 13, we are reminded that it is Jesus who is implied in each of these verses. In fact, several of these verses I just have in my margin, I just have Jesus, 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 Jesus. As a reminder, this isn't about me. This isn't about my love. This is about God's love personified in Christ. There's a phrase that is stated sometimes, and it is, be about it. Don't talk about it. Paul here says, though I speak with tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or tinkling cymbal. This is the proof or the evidence of God's love, reinforced by action, reinforced by conduct, reinforced by behavior. God's love demonstrably is selfless. If it's not reinforced with action, it's just a bunch of noise. Paul is saying it's just a bunch of metal banging together. Sometimes the kids, they play in the kitchen and they pull out all the pots and pans. They get the wooden spoons and they just bang it all together. They just make a bunch of noise. And there's a certain amount of joy that comes with just causing a racket. As Christians, our love, the fruit of our love, the evidence of our love is the action of what we accomplish in God. Though I have the gift of prophecy. Here prophecy can mean clarity I have a note in my Bible here. Prophecy is clearly articulating, communicating, and enforcing truth. The divinely empowered forthtelling of God's mind or purpose. The prophecy, the utterance of God's plan, the utterance of God's will, the utterance of God's purpose. With clarity, not confusion, not with a bunch of noise, but a discernible message that is evidenced with action. Though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mystery and all knowledge. You know, the Greeks, they loved to talk about what they understood. And that which they didn't understand, they would come to an understanding through talking about it. The Romans, they loved to demonstrate their knowledge with mighty architectural feats. But they had no love. They ruled authoritatively with violence. So you see the contradiction that Paul is bringing about here. Though I understand all mystery and all knowledge, though I have all faith or belief. You know, the Jews, they believed a lot of good things. They understood the laws. They enshrined God's law with civil laws. Because they had so much knowledge and so much faith. So that I could remove mountains, but if I don't have charity, I am nothing. This verse speaks of mankind, humankind's ambition or motives, the reasons why we do things. What Paul is saying is that we should be compelled by charity. We should be compelled by love. And I'm not exactly sure what the relationship is through etymology with charisma and charity. But there's something compelling about charity. There's a charisma about charity. Charity draws. It compels. And I think it's the sacrificial elements of love. And we see that, and we can experience that, and we are drawn to that. We watch these sappy films about love, and there's always great loss and great sorrow, and in that, we fall in love with the characters, and our heart breaks and is mended back together, and then it breaks again, and then it comes back together. There's something compelling about that. And we see that even in this next verse. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, for God so loved the world that he gave. And we see here that as we bestow, we give, right? But charity does not equal generosity. Charity should let me flip that around. Generosity does not equal charity. Generosity can be very, very, very self-motivating. We see that in philanthropy all the time, where attention is drawn to the giving, to the bestowment, to the endowment, right? But God gave Christ, right? Paul here, he says, though I bestow all of my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, if I have not charity or if I have not love, it profiteth me nothing. Or there is no gain in that. There is no gain. You can have your name on every building in Medford, but if you die a sinner, there is no gain in that. it profiteth nothing. Charity, verse 4, it suffers long. It suffers long. For those of us that have siblings, we know what it means to suffer long, right? To give and to give and to give with nothing in return. For those of us that have children, we know what it means to suffer long. It means to endure. Love endures. Above all things, love endures. And we see this demonstrated by God in Jesus and in God himself. He suffers his disobedient children long. From cover to cover, his love endures. Despite our failures as humankind, to reciprocate God's love and his giving, his bestowment, we turn as humankind again and again and again away from him and are disobedient to him. Charity, however, love, God's love, this unconditional love, suffers long and is kind. Love is not unkind. It's not brutish. It's not mean. It's not harsh. But it's kind. It's loving. Charity envieth not. It does not desire the things that are not ordained of God. Envieth is to desire something that is not rightfully yours. It's not intended for you. It's not ordained for you. Love doesn't envy. These are the things that love is not. Charity vaunteth not itself. It doesn't boast itself. It's not gregarious. It's not loud. It's not attention-seeking. It vaunteth not itself. No, instead it's very humble. It's very quiet. It's very discreet. I think of Isaiah, the bruised reed. And I can't think of it off the top of my head, but how there's a cry in the street, but he is not heard. Maybe one of you can remember that. It might be Isaiah 41, not exactly sure. The suffering servant. Yes. And the text goes on, but at any rate, it's discreet, it's humble, it's quiet. It vaunteth not itself. It doesn't puff itself up or make itself seem larger than it is. It doesn't present itself in a way that it is not. In such, it's honest. Charity is. Love is. Love doth not behave itself unseemly. It's not inappropriate. Love seeks not her own, but instead is selfless. It's not easily provoked. Love is patient. Love, charity, it thinks no evil. When I was a child, I was taught to always endeavor to give people the benefit of the doubt. Be gracious. Love is gracious. Charity, it doesn't think the worst of people. No, but instead it thinks kindly of people. It thinks no evil. It doesn't jump to the worst possible conclusion. It doesn't escalate things. It thinks no evil. Love does not celebrate iniquity. Does not rejoice in sin. It doesn't celebrate worldliness. It doesn't enjoy even talking about it or mimicking or emulating evil or iniquity. I mean, that's what, or filth. I mean, that's what iniquity is. It's sin. It's wickedness. Love doesn't celebrate that. Instead, it rejoices, it celebrates the truth. In truth. Love doesn't give up. It beareth all things. To bear something is to carry the weight of. It carries the weight of all things. You know, when we take our vows, when we give our vows in marriage, we promise to love and to cherish with the expectation of getting nothing in return. It's not contingent upon reciprocated love. We say, I will love you and I dedicate myself to you regardless of what the future holds. I will bear all things with you. Believeth all things. Love believes the best. Hopeth all things. Has faith in all things. I mean, that's what hope is. Hope is confidence. Not in yourself or not in somebody else, but confidence in God. Predicated on the power and the grace that He's demonstrated in your life and in the life of others to you. We have hope in that. We have hope because we have seen what God has done. We have hopefully experienced His deliverance. We have witnessed His power in keeping us, in healing us, in giving us wisdom when we needed wisdom, clarity when we needed clarity, encouragement when we needed encouragement, unction when we needed power. And that is how hope is kindled. It's by trusting God and having the confidence that He will do for you tomorrow what He did for you yesterday. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never fails. Everything else in life is going to fail. Charity, God's love, it never fails. The New Testament, Christ dying for our sins, His love never fails. His power never falters. His grace never wavers. Charity never fails. But whether there be prophecy, it shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Where there is knowledge, it will vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. there's an obscurity to our vision. There's an obscurity to how we experience life. We don't understand everything. We don't understand life's sorrows. We don't understand when a child is taken from us, or when a loved one dies of disease, or when there's an earthquake in Turkey, or when there's famine or war, when there's corrupt leaders of state. We don't understand that. There's an obscurity to our perception. We can't see clearly through what's going on. And it troubles us. But when that which is perfect is come, when Jesus is come, that which is in part shall be done away. We will see clearly. We will see, hopefully, at least in some fashion, we will see each other, and we will see the world as God sees it and how He intends it to be. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. I think of childish love. Childish love is based on that which can be obtained. They cry, a baby cries because he or she is hungry, or needs a diaper change, or is tired. Really, there's only 3 reasons why a baby will cry, and it's one of those 3. I've done this a few times. There's only a few reasons why a baby will cry. And they cry to alert their mother or their father. And so that love, that very innocent love, it's nurtured, and it's taught, and it's reinforced that when I, as a baby, I cry, I will be fed, I will be held, I will have my diaper changed, I will be rocked, I will be patted. And that's childish love. And sadly, as Christians, many never grow up. And we cry out and we say, Lord, feed me. Lord, nurture me. Lord, help me. Lord, show me your plan for my life. And we're spiritual babes. And it's time to grow up. Because we have a very rudimentary love for God and for Christ. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I saw the world as a child, as an infant, as an adolescent, as a very immature person, of a person without faith, without love, without hope, without confidence. But when I became a man, when I became a woman, I put away childish things. Believer, we must become men and women of God. We must grow up in this world. We must put away childish things. There is a better way. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as also I am known. That's a powerful phrase, to know even as I am known. We know each other because of our experiences together. We recognize each other's faces. We see each other's faces. We recognize, we understand each other's voice, even voice inflection. We can tell a lot about somebody, about their tone, about their look, about their mannerisms, about all of the in fact, we spoke about it in a couple Bible studies ago, all of the non-spoken cues, projecting our whole being. We're telling the whole world who we are without even opening our mouth. But the Lord knows us in a way that the person sitting next to you does not know you. And I shall know the Lord, even how he knows me. So I don't really, I've never seen God. I've read about him. I've experienced his nearness. I've experienced his spirit. But I don't really have, maybe I'm close to him, but I don't, it isn't material. You know, we are flesh and blood. We are not spirit yet, at least not fully. God is. And there will be a day when I shall know him even as he knows me. Now abideth faith, hope, charity. These three. But the greatest of these is charity. The greatest of these is love. We won't need faith or hope in heaven, but we will feast on the love of God forever in his presence. Faith, hope, and love. But love is the greatest gift. Love is the greatest way. You can have faith in things other than God. And I believe, Paul was a brilliant man. And I believe that even when he's talking here about faith and hope, he may be making inferences to the non-spiritual world, and even tying back to the Greeks and the Romans and the Jews, and they had a lot of faith in themselves. They had a lot of hope in what they could accomplish. And we hear it even today about how any one person can change the world if you just believe in yourself. The greatest way is love. Specifically, God's love. He continues saying, follow after charity, follow after love, and desire the spiritual gifts. So similar to 12:31, covet earnestly the best gifts. Earnestly contend for the higher way. Follow after charity and desire spiritual gifts, but rather that ye may prophesy. So here he starts to go into another portion of the letter, and it's about speaking in tongues, and it's talking about prophecy. But before he makes that turn, he reminds them, cherish, love, cherish this way. The way of Jesus. Earnestly desire the higher gifts. Embody the things of God. And he will help you. He will lead you. He will guide you. In closing, chapter 12, again, verse 31, earnestly, covet earnestly the best gifts, the best way. Yet show I unto you a more excellent way, the way of Jesus, the way of Christ.